Do you like salsa? Even if you don't like salsa and if you don't want to make the salsa, watch this video because our Cooking with RSI expert, Alexandria is going to show you all kinds of tricks that you can use in the kitchen for other things that you're cooking.
Salsa. We're going to, yes, make salsa from scratch, so all fresh ingredients. Most of these, I have to say, were sourced locally here from a farm that I go to and buy fresh produce. Anyway, they're fantastic if you can get local fresh veggies. Man, what a difference. Once you have real fresh salsa that you make yourself, you will never go back to the store. So I did lie a little bit. The ingredients aren't all completely fresh. So the non-fresh ingredients are tomato paste and peeled Italian tomatoes. So you have to open these obviously with can opener. For anyone with RSI, using a manual can opener, unless you're absolutely desperate, no, invest in a good electric can opener. It is worth its weight in gold. I went through several different ones over the years trying to find the perfect one. As we all know, we want things to be as easy as possible on the hands. And so that goes for little cans as well as large cans. And I noticed that they don't all perform the same way for those two extremes. So definitely read reviews. This one I've had for a very long time, and the reviews I read online were not wrong. They're amazing. There we go. That little can does take a little bit to get going in position. That's the small one. That worked quite nicely. Now the big one, this is the problem with most electric can openers. The weight of this will cause the can opener to tip, and we don't want that to happen. So this just amazed me. Not that. There we go. Not even touching it. This huge can. That is where the money goes. So yes, if anyone's interested, I will let Deborah know exactly which make and model this is, so you can get one yourself. So now I had mentioned that we will want to drain the tomatoes. It depends on your preference for texture for salsa. Myself, I prefer a really chunky salsa. I don't like it to be too liquidy. So this is up to you how much you want to drain the tomatoes. So all I do is use a strainer and just creatively adding a little bit of a buffer so that the bottom doesn't touch the bottom of the bowl. One of the nice things is you're left over with tomato juice, which you can then use in a, a Caesar, in pasta, spaghetti sauce. So you can use all of the can. You don't have to throw away the juice. So what I do is I just let gravity do its work here and just set that aside while I do other things. So tomato paste. Getting this out of a can is a pain, okay? I can't even begin to go there, but you can use a spoon. Spoons are a pain because they don't get to the whole side and you end up using your hands more than you really want to. So choosing the right tool for you and whatever it is you're scraping is very important. So I do like spatulas. I have a lot of spatulas in different sizes. I use silicone because I think it's just got enough flexibility as well. Easy to use. Also, the Dutch made this interesting, it's called a bottle scraper. I'm going to try getting it a little close. And you can see that it's curved on the one side. And that slight curve will allow you to get all the nooks and crannies. So I usually start out with this. Can you see? Yeah, okay. And just sort of round and round. And then you can take the bottle scraper to get the rest. And the bottle scraper just, I twist the can slowly and it gets out pretty much everything. There we go. So the tomatoes are still draining. We've got the tomato paste in there. But wait, there's more tomatoes. You can use grape tomatoes in lieu of, but just fresh cherry tomatoes. These ones are sweet, like really sweet. Like I say, they're fresh from a farm locally. They were picked only a couple days ago. Anyway, so those go in. As many as you like. I tend to find around 15 or so, depending on the size. Oh, and obviously, this is all going into my food processor. This salsa recipe there's a lot to it, volume-wise. So you definitely want to choose a large receptacle, not like a mini chopper. This is my nice big food processor that's telling me it does 2.5 liters. So that's great. You can also use a blender if you want for the salsa, because you're going to be in control of the consistency. You want that pulse setting, or be able to, turn it off and on fairly quickly so it doesn't just run through and you end up with a soup instead of salsa. This is probably one of the worst things for my hand. There's the stem to deal with, so I tend to just try and lean on it and twist it. Slowly starts coming apart. And then getting my thumbs. Now my thumbs are nigh useless. So then I start picking away at the skin. There we go. So now I've kind of broken its back, so to speak. How much garlic you want to put into the salsa is up to you. I'm a big fan of garlic, but I've discovered that there is a thing as too much garlic sometimes. Like when my RSI was at its worst, yeah, I was buying the chopped garlic, right? And sometimes I didn't even care. I just ate whatever was in the house. So buy the type of garlic that your hands can deal with. Right. So as I said before, my way is not the only way, and you have to be sensitive to these. Now, for chopping up the garlic, one thing that drives me crazy is when I watch those videos and people somehow smash it with
No. We don't smash anything with a flat hand. No.
No, that is very, very, very bad. So having a sharp knife really makes a difference. With a really sharp knife, you're not going to be applying much pressure to it. Keep your fingers out of there. All right. So now we have the skin on the garlic. And again, my thumbs are really bad, but I learned a trick where if you do what I show you under running tap water or in a bowl of water, the water helps peel the garlic. So all you do is just sort of gently, and it's done.
Wow, what a great trick.
Yeah, I forget where I learned that. Again, one of those cooking shows, So the water just gets in there and helps peel it off. You're not going to throw the whole garlic in there because you're going to end up with large bits of garlic, and you don't want the garlic to overpower, right? With salsa, you want a really good blend. So now we're left with, okay, my hands don't work very well. How do I chop these up in little bits? So there's 2 different implements that I use, depending on what I want. This one here, and it has a little garlic symbol on it, okay? But there's like a grate in there.
Yeah, I can see the grate. Yeah, there you go. Oh, and a little drawer.
That's right. And so you just slam that closed. I like more fine tuning with some of my garlic, and in which case you can use a garlic press. And contrary to some people's beliefs, you really do need to get rid of the skin off the garlic before you put it in the garlic press. These I find hard on my hands in particular because the pain I have right there by the thumbs. You know, but if I'm having a half decent day, I don't mind doing it once or twice. So obviously you can't press this entire thick piece of garlic in that. So I tend to just cut it in half, although I didn't need to use that one. And I think I'm gonna need to cut it again. You can just load it on and squish. So with your hands, with your arm, elbow, whatever works, you get all this nice chopped garlic. Grab my little Dutch scraper. Then the garlic press. So this one, you don't want to put too big a piece in here because it's going to be even harder to press. So you can do this, you know, use whatever you can for leverage, right? You will figure out what works best for your hands. Max, he's on my computer. If we get disconnected, and one more. So this is where the other knife comes in. I just scrape off the end. And depending on what kind of a hand day you're having, you can get right in there and scrape off even more, but I'm not going to bother right now. So that was the garlic. We also want to throw in some lime juice. So I will confess now, this is from a bottle. This is a really nice organic lime juice because my hands do not like this motion, you know, with lemons or limes, so, or oranges. I can't do it. So that's that. Spices. Spices are important. These spices are all spicy spices, so they're pretty hot. So I've got some Aleppo flakes, I have some cumin, I have salt, I've got the hot paprika and some cayenne and pepper. If you want a more spicy salsa, this is where you start adding jalapeno peppers or similar. I like my salsa to be medium. I don't like it to be too hot. But you can, if you wish, add it after the fact for those guests who may actually really like to have a really spicy jalapeno infused salsa. So anyway, these are the spices that I use. I wouldn't recommend topping these up even more for extra heat. Use jalapeno or other hot peppers. And this may come as a surprise. Honey is used to cut the acidity of tomatoes. You can use sugar. So when I first learned about this, when I was a teenager, someone told me to use sugar, and I did until, you know, years later when I really started cooking. And I thought, well, I don't really like sugar. I don't use sugar. What about honey? And honey works just the same way. It just cuts that acidity. You don't have to add it, but I find it does calm down that acidity that often accompanies tomatoes. I love tomatoes. It's not going to cloud the tomato taste, so you don't have to worry about that. But yeah, some nice honey. Okay, and so green pepper. Now, because this is a salsa and I do want it chunky, all I really want to do is cut it up into smaller pieces. It doesn't have to be fine. And don't be afraid to just use your hands to just get in there and, you know, take the seeds out or not. You know, it's whatever works for you. And like I said, what works for some people doesn't work for everyone. I tend to just like that, throw that in there. And you can use any bell pepper you want. I like green because of the contrast color, right? I don't know. Although yellow peppers are look really nice in a salsa. Onion. All right. There's, I don't think really any, I don't just have a sharp knife for when you're cutting onion. I tend to do both ends like so. And then there's that inner layer, again, using your thumbs to get that. What I have done in times past is use a knife just to make sort of an incision. There we go. We want it chunky. Parsley. So you can use parsley. This is just regular run-of-the-mill parsley. The recipe calls for about a handful. I try to chop it kind of as fine as I can because I don't really want parsley chunks, right? You want the parsley just to be blended right in with the flavor. You know, I just always try to bunch things up. You could also put the parsley or any other fresh herb into a mini chopper and let it have its way with those. And so with the leaves. And I've done that before as well. And again, technique, I have none. I do what is comfortable for me. And I love watching those cooking shows. And, oh man, some of those people, the way they chop. So here's the tomatoes. They've been draining. And I am going to cheat. I know I said gravity would do the job. It does a pretty good job, but I am just going to use this scoop ladle and just squeeze out a little bit more of the juice. So there you go. So now you've got some drained tomatoes. Go just right in here. Then we do this, put it on, and this is the easy part. Turn on the power and then I like to open it up, grab spatula, just have a look at, oh gosh, that smells good. A little more. Perfect. Put your shoulders into it.
That's right. Slide rather than lift.
That's right.
We
Okay.
slide, we don't lift.
So here's the salsa. Again, spatula, great for taking food off the blades. What do we do with the salsa? You can put it in any tub you like, because I don't have a lot of fridge space. Well, I do. It's just always full of food. So I try to make things, you know, tall and thin as opposed to flat and large anyway. I just maximize the space. So I just use regular jars. And one thing I want to say is there are two different size of jar mouths. This is a wide mouth and the other one is a narrower mouth. And this is where I like to use the wide mouth for anything I'm pouring in here. It's going to take less effort and less time on your hands than if you have a small mouth jar and you're having to scoop more or pour more. So that's why I opted for the wide mouth. So you can just scoop it in into the funnel. Oops. If you have someone with you, you can have them actually hold this up and help you out with the pouring part. Don't worry, that's not going to waste. So here you have a jar of salsa.
Wow.
Ready for the fridge. Now you can serve it right away. I prefer to wait a day. That way all the flavors have infused together, and it will last for a good week in the refrigerator, but hopefully it won't last that long with you eating it. So that's the whole idea with the fresh salsa. So speaking of which, let's scoop some salsa in here. And so what you do with the salsa is limitless. Burritos, tacos, nachos, anything and everything. These are just your basic corn chips. Scoop.
Yes. Oh, that looks so good.
And